What is up, guys? I hope you're all having a wonderful day, because I sure am. Haha, yeah, I sure am. If you're not having a good day, let's cheer you up by talking about amino acids. Yay! You know, those things that make up proteins and are essential to life on Earth. It seems I found a new argument from creationists that I haven't heard of before, so we're going to give it a whirl.
Now, here's what we're going to do. We're going to build a protein. Now, as a little helpful educational aid here, we have this toy, and this is going to be our protein we want to build.
Woo! We're going to get to build proteins. How very exciting! I was hoping we'd get to build hemoglobin. That's one of my favorite proteins, along with fructose 1,6-bisphosphate and P53. But it's pretty big, and your toy there doesn't seem to qualify for the job. Guys, I'm completely kidding, alright? I'd rather build oxytocin.
But I couldn't fit 150 of these things in my luggage, so I only have whatever this is, like 10, okay? Each one of these is going to be our amino acids, okay? And then we have, and then when we put them together, we make our protein, okay? So we want to build a protein.
That protein model he has actually doesn't contribute at all to his point, so I don't even know why he brought it. Anyway, I'm going to let the video play for a while so he finishes his point before I respond.
There's a problem, though, right off the bat if you want to build a protein. By chance, without any kind of intelligence. Here's the problem.
Well, there you said it, by chance. Sadly, like everything else creationists usually bring up, it's not really just chance-based. There's a lot of other implications that need to be considered.
We can make amino acids, even in the laboratory, okay?
Ah yes, creating amino acids in the lab. It's quite interesting. The easiest way, I believe, is to use the Strecker synthesis. I personally haven't artificially created amino acids before, but it sure sounds fun. Imagine just creating proteins of your choice.
The problem is when we make these things, they come in two different forms. They come in both left-handed and right-handed amino acids. How many people in here are left-handed? Okay, this is like a shout out for you guys. Because it turns out, all my lefties, it turns out all of life is made up of left-handed amino acids. In fact, if you add one right-handed amino acid to the mix, you basically destroy your protein, okay? It won't fold properly. And so what you want is only left-handed amino acids. That's important. So it turns out, hey, if we want to build one of these by chance, what we're going to do is first we're going to get our first left-hand amino acid, and then we're going to try and get another left-hand amino acid, stick it on there, and then another and another and another, until you got 150 in a row. Now here's the problem. When we make these in the laboratory, or find them, they come in a 50-50 mixture. It's basically a coin flip. So quite literally, if you want the probability of getting your left-handed amino acid every time is a coin flip, 1 in 2 chance. And then when you start to, just like our bike lock, you start to multiply the difficulty, right? Because you have 1/2 times 1/2 times 1, and all of a sudden, if you have 150 of these in a row, well, your odds are now 1 in 2 to the power of 150. It would be like flipping a coin, getting heads 150 times in a row. And if you get tails on the 4th try, or the 10th try, or the 20th try, or the 149th try, you got to start all over again. So it turns out, when you change this into kind of base 10 to make it a little easier here to understand, it's a 1 in 10 to the 45 chance to get our amino acid just with our protein with just a left-hand amino acids. That's a 1 followed by 45 zeros. But the problem gets worse, okay? That's called the chirality problem, which just means handedness. That's the handedness problem. You need left-handed.
Whew, I don't like playing the original video for too long before I cut it, but I felt like it was necessary this time. So let's talk about amino acids, shall we? I'll give a brief introduction on chirality for those who are unfamiliar. I did talk about this previously, but it was a long time ago. You guys have seen all my other videos, right? Right? Okay, so certain organic molecules, especially amino acids, have a chirality property. What that means is that it can exist in 2 forms, which are mirror images of each other but are not superposable. Your hands are a great example. Your left and right hands are essentially mirror images, but if you lay them on top of one another, they aren't the same. Your hands are then thought of to be enantiomers, Both these conditions must be true in order for chirality to exist. Now, much like your hands, proteins are the same, and we call their enantiomers left-handed and right-handed. Yep, scientists are creative as fuck. I'm going to refer to left-handed ones as L and the right-handed ones as D, since that's the scientific way to call them. The main point that the creationist here is bringing up is that all amino acids utilized by life is of the L isoform. That doesn't mean D amino acids don't exist, they most certainly do, but the overwhelming majority of protein function are carried out by L amino acids. Now from this, you'd probably think, wow, that means when cells create proteins, they're coin flipping for every amino acid, right? Well, the short answer to that is no. Most of what we need for protein building comes from food. Proteins you ingest are broken down in your digestive tract and amino acids are absorbed. This then gets circulated around in your bloodstream and used by your cells. The amino acids here are already in their L isoform, so there's no need to convert. But what about amino acids produced by our own bodies? Humans can self-produce just over half of what is needed. This is done through various extensions from other metabolic processes involving glycolysis and the Krebs cycle. For example, from pyruvate you can make alanine, leucine, valine, and isoleucine. From oxaloacetate you can make methionine, threonine, lysine, aspartate, and asparagine. From alpha-ketoglutarate you can make glutamate, proline, arginine, and glutamine. These are just a few examples, and of course they'd require enzymes. I won't be naming the specific enzymes, but essentially you can choose which enantiomer to make just by having the active site of the enzymes shaped specifically for that enantiomer. In other words, living organisms can purposely create L amino acids, and they choose to do that. Now, organisms that seldom utilize D amino acids, such as certain bacteria, have enzymes to shape the amino acids into the D form. When we produce amino acids in the lab through chemical reactions, we usually produce an equal amount of both enantiomers. But that's not how living organisms work. They can specifically produce whichever one they desire. So that brings up the question, why do living organisms decide to use L instead of D? There's no scientific answer to this. It very much could have been D and life would have been the same. Therefore, there's supposedly a 50-50 chance that it could have been one or the other, and we think that it just so happened that living organisms on Earth decided to go with L. Perhaps if we discover alien species, it's possible that they all use D amino acids, but once L is chosen, it stays on L, so organisms thereafter must conform to that choice. It isn't a 50-50 coin flip every time an amino acid is used to produce a protein. It doesn't stack and create incredibly small probabilities. It's one 50-50 coin flip, and that's what the creationists got wrong. If life chose to use the D isoform, then we'd be sitting here wondering why all life is D. Now, there is some hypothesis that perhaps the influence of polarization of light radiation from space could lean the probability slightly in favor of L amino acids, but that's something I don't think is very relevant to the conversation here.
You can offer these kind of probabilities that literally are incomprehensible, but someone could still say, well, it could happen by chance. It could happen.
Except that no one is really saying that. There's always some explanation or some property of the universe that resulted in what we see today, no matter what you bring up. Anything that is incredibly low chance, such as the chances of life arising through abiogenesis, is usually explained by the vast amount of planets in the universe and the incredible amount of time that is given. And when you actually consider these explanations, it doesn't seem so impossible after all.
The simplest life has about 3,000 different proteins. We tried to make a small one. 3,000 different proteins. It's estimated that the human body contains over 2 million different proteins inside it. 2 million different proteins.
Ooh, that's a lot of proteins. One day we'll get to know all of them, their functions, their interactions, and their structures. One day it will happen. If you're wondering how the human body can become so complex to make and utilize all these proteins, well, the answer is simple. It came about through billions of years of evolution.
We get words like this: for you formed my inward parts, you knitted me together in my mother's womb. I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works, my soul knows it very well.
You know, I never liked that argument, that humans are supposedly perfectly created. That's simply not the case. Allow me to take some time just to name some obvious flaws of the human body. Vestigial organs, such as the tailbone or the half-formed muscles in your ears that are nothing but useless. Cancer, arising from the mutations of regular cells. Seems like God just created a chance-based system that could screw you over. I don't care what you say, but giving leukemia to children isn't exactly what I say a merciful God would do. Oh, what about the immune system attacking your own body? That's a pretty nasty one. The cells of your own body getting confused so it attacks other cells. Ooh, genetic illnesses is a good one. I don't think anyone had a choice on what their genes say, right? I guess God just didn't like you as much, so he gave you cystic fibrosis. I don't think I've yet to hear a single counterpoint to this. If any creationist would like to step up and answer why we have these imperfections, I'd love to hear. You're the ones claiming that God created the human body perfectly, so you can't just give justifications for these, but rather explain why these flaws are, quote, perfect. Anyway, what you guys just saw was 2 small segments of an entire speech that this guy gave. I'm not going to respond to the entire thing due to time purposes though, but feel free to check it out yourself if you desire. I don't know why you would though. For now, I shall depart. Shout out to Fireshard for your loyal support. Your support over at Patreon has helped me a lot. Have a good rest of your day guys, and I'll see you next week.